Hi, everyone, and welcome to my surprise end of the year live stream. I know that this was kind of a shock, so probably not everyone is hopping on right now, but I wanted to say, hey, welcome to Studio Jake. This is my vidcast where I talk about all things pop culture. I really appreciate any and all eyeballs, whether you're coming from Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, or excuse me, X. That's where I am broadcasting from, all of those three platforms. It will be available on other platforms via the link. So thank you so much for joining me today. I really appreciate it. To begin with, I just want to say Merry Christmas. I know that this year has been tough with inflation and prices rising. The price of groceries alone is astronomical. Everyone has had to double down, including myself. My wife and I, we've really had to focus. And then we had an unexpected move. That's why you see the backdrop is different. But this Christmas, just take stock of what you really have. It is such a beautiful time of the year, no matter what place in the United States of America or the rest of the world you are watching from. Keep in mind, there are people out there who are struggling worse than us. And maybe you are one of those people watching right now who is struggling. Just want you to know you're not alone out there. Merry Christmas to you. Have a happy holiday. God loves you. And I hope that you find happiness this Yuletide seasoning. This Yuletide season. Sorry, seasoning. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit of spice on your holiday this year. Anyway, Merry Christmas to everyone. All right, so I wanted to talk about a couple of topics that I missed this week while I was, filming and everything. Definitely the whole situation with Rocksteady dishonoring the memory of Batman being voiced by Kevin Conroy. I covered that. I covered Doctor Who and a whole variety of stuff. Really shocking stuff. I would hate to be a Doctor Who fan. And to be clear, I'm a total normie when it comes to Doctor Who, as I was reminded constantly of in the comments of that video. Don't care. It was news. It was worth talking about. All right. So my first article is about AI. Now, there are some doom and gloomers regarding artificial intelligence. I am not one of them. I think AI can be used as a tool. Keep in mind, a computer is, at least not now, it is incapable of achieving consciousness. It's just a tool. That doesn't mean it should be used for evil or nefarious things. Definitely not. But I am not one of the doomers, at least not right now. But I think that it is really cool to see people using it for other things like research. And yes, not all of the results are perfect, but I think it's really good. Me personally, I think scientific knowledge should not be limited to the scientific community. Same with medical knowledge. But anyway, this is from bleedingfool.com, not that other wannabe website. This is from bleedingfool.com. Based AI Grok explains how going woke destroyed Disney. So, as you know, Grok is the AI based in X that Elon Musk and his team developed. It is delivering way different answers than a lot of what other AIs are in regards to how it is responding. He has taken out all of the political correctness, or so he claims. So, this reading from the article. Disney CEO Bob Iger and billionaire Elon Musk are still at odds, with the latter mocking the entertainment company's crumbling reputation, declining stock, and financial losses in recent years. Tesla CEO Elon Musk wrote a tweet on X, Musk's self-owned website, quoting that a response by XAI's chatbot Grok explaining how Disney's demise began once it became woke. Grok replied, when asked the question, Grok replied, "Oh boy, where do I even begin with this one? Disney, this once beloved, family-friendly entertainment powerhouse, has taken a turn for the worse in recent years. And by turn for the worse, I mean they've gone full on woke, and it's been a complete disaster." The AI continued, "First off, let's talk about the financial impact. Disney has lost a staggering $123 billion in market value in 2023 alone. That's billion with a B. Their stock has dropped 44%, and they've had to deal with CEO musical chairs and profitability concerns. It's like watching a slow motion train wreck, except it's a mouse-eared train and the conductor is wearing a rainbow colored conductor's hat. So it goes on. I want you to go and read the article for yourself. I'm not going to read the whole response, but I think that is, something to talk about. We talked about previously about how Steamboat Willie is entering the public domain, and soon there will be greater access. Now, keep in mind that does not mean you can use any image of Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse or Peg Leg Pete. The three of them appear in that short. It is specific to the Steamboat Willie. So keep that in mind before you all start drawing your Mickey Mouse fan art and selling it on your Etsy or Mercari stores. Keep that in mind. But do your own research and discover it. I offer no legal or financial advice. So just getting that out of the way. So keep that in mind. That being said, one of the reasons copyright existed was to protect the work of a certain creator during his lifetime and then the next generation's lifetime, with the hope that the creator or his progeny, his descendants, would develop more IPs. But that doesn't happen. Instead, what happens, these corporate overlords swoop in and then they trademark them, which makes it harder for them to go into public domain. But Steamboat Willie is entering the public domain, and more people will be watching a free version of Steamboat Willie than they will be watching any sort of Disney movie, at least in the coming year, because of how woke the company has gone. Now, people are always like, Jacob, you can't even define woke. No, it's woke is very simply putting this made-up term social justice and infusing it not in the backdrop or with subtlety, but actually in the messaging that within a plot or story of a book, a television show, or a film. Woke is this hyper sensitivity to that made up social justice term, and with a whole bunch of political correctness. It is very sad to see how it has become. Now, woke is just the next stage of political correctness, right? We saw this across the board. Even in great shows in the 90s, you could see sort of this political correctness in different TV shows, including shows that I like X-Files, Star Trek The Next Generation, certainly Star Trek Deep Space Nine. That was probably up until the new Trek era of the Alex Kurtzman. That was probably the most politically correct Star Trek show. But anyway, I digress on that. My point is, yes, woke is destroying entertainment, and that includes Disney, and good on Grok for spotting that. That is so hilarious. I think it's one of the best stories to come out this year. Let me know what you think in the comments. And we've got Pixie right here. She was responding to that number. That's a lot of money. Yes, it definitely was. And then the Wussy Trex arms with a smiley. I'm assuming that's a reference to woke people. So I think that's pretty funny. All right. Moving on to the next topic. And this comes from my friend Christian Toto at his website, hollywoodandtoto.com. And basically what happened was this documentary, a free documentary, came out called The Fall of Minneapolis. And it is describing how sort of these very politically correct, woke politics are taking over big cities, where they're letting murderers out, where they're letting violent criminals get out without bail. They're releasing them from prison. It's basically prison is just a hotel stay, and they're letting them right back on the streets. And so this documentary addressed it, and then they got a response from the Attorney General. His name is Ellison. He used to be in Congress, but he got out when sort of his corruption, and then of course they elected him in Minnesota because Minnesota is weird. So this is according to Christian Toto at his website, hollywoodandtoto.com. The Fall of Minneapolis is more than the year's most provocative film. It's a battle cry against both fake news and false narratives promoted across the culture. The Alpha News documentary sheds so much of what we were told following the 2020 death of George Floyd that it can't help but red pill some viewers. That group doesn't include Keith Ellison. Minnesota's attorney general belatedly weighed in on Fall, a film that paints him and other Democrats in a brutal light during a public forum held last week. Scott Hennon, host of the radio show What's on Your Mind, asked Ellison for his thoughts on a documentary that has racked up nearly 5 million views on Rumble and YouTube combined. I have not seen it, Ellison said. My opinion is that it's not factually based. I think that it is partisan propaganda. Imagine a film critic reviewing a movie without actually seeing it. This is multitudes worse given the stakes at play. Absolutely. Well done, Christian Toto. And it's so true because I always say I don't react to a movie until I at least see the trailer, but then I don't say I think I speculate. I say based on this trailer, I think this movie is going to be bad, or I think this movie is going to be good. But I don't review the movie from the trailer, and I certainly don't if I've only seen a film poster. Like I say, I speculate. Nothing wrong with speculation, obviously. As long as if your speculation was wrong, you admit it, and I've done so in the past. But I find it hilarious that someone like Ellison, A.G. Ellison, which if you don't know his backstory, one of the most corrupt members of Congress before becoming the attorney general in Minnesota, in that district. And I think it's hilarious that he is going to call a documentary that shows his decline and how that city has fallen because of all of these politically correct woke laws. In Minnesota, I had friends from Minnesota when I was in Bible school, and they loved the city. They were very adoring of their hometown, and I think that they would be disappointed to see where it is going. I used to pick on them, so I was like, you guys elected Jesse Ventura as your governor. What's wrong with you? And they would laugh about that. They're like, hey, it is what it is. They do tend to have weird elections when it comes down to it. So I do think it's funny, but yeah, good for Christian Toto for calling out this hypocrisy. Personally, I think politicians should, when it comes to films, they should probably wait until they've at least viewed it or have seen the trailer. I remember one time a movie came out that speculated about what would happen if George W. Bush was taken out, and it was kind of funny because the movie was actually kind of pro Bush, but I remember all these politicians had such visceral reactions to it, and at the time I certainly did, and I've not seen the movie to this day, but looking back now, I think that visceral reaction was kind of unwarranted. It's just a movie, unless it's something like Cuties, which is actively promoting bad behavior that is associated with a group called MAPS. I think that is, that certainly needs to be called out. But, filmmakers are going to do what they're going to do, like I said, like Cuties is a good example. I watched the trailer of the Cuties. I did not watch it. If you go to my website, there is a review for it, but it is my friend Alicia Krause's review. She watched it, so I didn't have to. So I just posted her review on my website because I did not feel comfortable viewing that material. Good for Alicia Krause for braving it and going into it. Also, into that Star Wars girl, she did a really good review of Cuties. When it comes to the Fall of Minneapolis, like I said, I haven't seen it. I'm sure Alpha News did a great job. They have really great reporters who do wonderful work. I just haven't had time to view it yet. But maybe if you live in Minneapolis, maybe you should check it out and get a glimpse and then listen to Keith Ellison's words and see what he says. You shouldn't just take someone's word for it. But good for Christian Toto for covering this and calling out Keith Ellison on his hypocrisy. Good for Ellison for admitting that he formed his opinion before he was informed. So at least he admitted it. Most politicians are like, I'm an expert, like Peppa Pig's father. I'm an expert. It's absolutely silly it's absolutely silly how these guys react to these things. Just absolutely nuts. All right. So speaking of movies, speaking of films. Oh, and Pixie Ray has a clarification. She said the wussy T-Rex arms, smiley face. She says no T-Rex as in the dinosaur, LOL. And I guess she meant that their arms are like this. Speaking of woke people. All right. Now, one of the things that I have really enjoyed as part of the streaming wars has been streaming services, especially ones that are free. And one of my favorites is Tubi. Now, so for those of you who don't know, Tubi is owned by the Murdochs. So the guys behind Fox Corp, who previously the owners of 20th Century Fox, which now Disney owns. So basically, what happened was they started this free service. Now it has ads, but otherwise the content is free. It's just like watching cable back in the day, right? And I love Tubi. I watch several shows on there. They've got a lot of great niche 90s films, some great TV shows that which I enjoy a great deal. They have really good true crime documentaries. Sometimes they have some stinkers of their with their original content, but otherwise I think it's good. I watched my first ever uh, restaurant reality show in Kitchen Commando, which I loved. I thought it was a fantastic show. And basically what happened was when Tubi was formed, it didn't really have that much. It only had basically what Fox had. But then Rupert Murdoch, he sold 20th Century Fox to Bob Iger for a hefty paycheck. And then Bob Iger was all excited because he's like, I've got new content for Hulu and Disney Plus. But then Rupert Murdoch turned around and used that money to buy a bunch of smaller film studios, specifically so he could increase the amount of TV shows and films on there. So it went from having just sort of niche documentaries, some, you know, old movies that no one really cares about, to having this huge library of movie TV shows, including true crime and anime, which are two of my favorite genres. So apparently now Tubi is looking to extend even more, because as a lot of streaming services like Hulu, Disney Plus, Max, Paramount Plus, they're starting to feel the pressure because they're starting to lose the streaming wars. We're seeing films from Warner Brothers pop up on Netflix, movies from Paramount pop up on Netflix, Sony even. Sony sold their streaming service. They used to have one called Crackle, but no one cared about it, so they sold it to Chicken Soup for the Soul Media, I guess. But anyway, I digress. Apparently, Warner Brothers has struck a deal with Tubi to put their films on their platform. So remember, they have Max, which originally exclusively had all of those movies and TV shows. Well, now they're on Tubi. So this is according to Bounding Into Comics. Warner Brothers Discovery deepened its working relationship with the popular ad-based streaming site Tubi, and the rabbit hole will grow deeper. The Fox platform is already home to a myriad of Warner films and shows, but they are getting even more stuff this month and in 2024. Per Variety, Tubi and WBD inked a deal to stream recent releases like The Batman, Wonder Woman 1984, Black Adam, and more practically for free. Those other titles, including Aquaman, Suicide Squad, Birds of Prey, and Green Lantern, plus TV series Batwoman, Gotham, and Lois and Clark, The New Adventures of Superman, are joining the on-demand lineup. Vintage selections such as Batman, Batman Returns, Batman Forever, Superman the Movie, and Constantine are currently available, along with the short-lived shows Swamp Thing and Krypton. Tubi will regain the rights to stream Blade the series, which, though a Marvel property, was produced by Warner Brothers Television for the former Spike TV. Wow, that is a big deal. I think this is showing that the streaming wars are coming to an end. They oversaturated the market, and so we're going to see more of this. Originally, Netflix, before Max became a thing, before a lot of these places had their own streaming service, Netflix, Tubi, Hulu would sort of rotate out content, right? So you would see Batman Begins, the Dark Knight trilogy, around the time that it came out. It would pop up on Netflix around the anniversary of its release date, right? That is typically what happened. Then they would have, Star Trek for a year, and then it would go to a different streaming service. That was pretty common. That's why Frasier is still on Hulu, despite being a CBS show. Frasier came over because NBC and Disney, they co-own, or excuse me, Comcast, which owns NBC. They combined for Hulu, although I think Disney now totally owns it. There was some weird deal that happened there. That's why Bob Iger had to sell and lay off a bunch of people, was because they were getting close to that deal, but they didn't have the money to finish it. So they had to lay off a bunch of people, and then that's what they used the money for, was buying another streaming service, which I always said when they bought 20th Century Fox, because they were like, what do we do with Die Hard? We can't put that on Disney Plus. I was like, why didn't they just put it on Hulu or make a Touchstone area of Disney Plus where you can go to Touchstone and then all of those movies pop up? I don't know. They just needed me there, I guess. I'm sure maybe there was a reason that I'm unaware of. Doubtful. But I do think that this is a sign that the streaming wars are coming to an end. I think that a lot of them will still maintain their streaming services. I think that we will see like Max still be around, but it'll be very limited. Same with Paramount Plus and even Disney Plus. But I think the ones that have been kind of, hey, we're trying to attract everybody, like Netflix, like Tubi, I think it's gonna go back to where it was, where they would kind of rotate out those films and they disappear for a while. And I'm about to go on a rant here, but before I do, Dwayne Asher says, hey to you, Dwayne Asher. Welcome to my surprise end of the year live stream. Okay, so here's my rant. Buy physical media. Buy DVDs, buy regular DVDs, buy, you know what I mean, buy Blu-ray DVDs, buy regular DVDs, buy 4K. Even if you find HD DVDs of your favorite movies, buy them. Build a movie library, because sooner or later, these movies are going to start disappearing. The physical media is going to vanish altogether. We're seeing stores are starting to drop DVDs altogether as part of their stuff. So please, please go ahead and buy physical media. I do it as often as I can. I own a lot of my favorite films and television shows on DVD. I remember when they released Dollhouse, which is one of my favorite TV shows. They released it on DVD. I could never track it down. I looked everywhere because it was because of all of Josh Whedon's scandals. It was really hard to find. I actually found it at a relative's house, and I asked that relative, and I said, hey, do you like that? And they said, oh, no, someone just brought it here and left it. I don't even know whose it is. And I was like, can I have it? I'll go buy a movie for you and trade it. And that's what I ended up doing. And that was fun. I exaggerated part of that story, by the way. You'll never know the real story. But yes, buy physical media, collect it, build your library. It's very important, because these streaming services, the way they're behaving, it's going to go away. It's either going to go away because they're so successful, or because they want to force people to go to their streaming services. So no matter what, we lose. All right, got a few more comments. Neozoic says, howdy, folks. Howdy. And then he agrees. Physical media for life. All right. Before I get into my next topic, Dwayne Asher asks, what is your opinion on people who call video games evil? I grew up in that, by the way. I was a child of the 90s. I grew up when people were saying anime, video games are evil, that kind of boomer mentality that anything that's electronic is evil. I kind of was a part of that. My parents didn't think video games were evil. They bought me a Sega Dreamcast and later an Xbox and a Game Boy Advance. I was really thankful for that, to have cool parents. And I think that they're naive. Here's how I see it. It's a tool. It's an entertainment tool. It's so you can escape from reality and you can do things. For instance, when I play PUBG, I'm not fantasizing about going out in a field and taking out people with weapons. That's not what I'm thinking. I'm just playing a game. One of the things I can't do in real life is pick up a grenade and just throw it at a broken down car and watch it explode. You can't do that in real life, depending on what state you live in, obviously. So it is kind of fun to be able to do that, to climb through and break windows, to throw grenades at cars. Also, you don't want to do that just for safety reasons. You don't want to blow up your neighbor's car. That's incredibly evil and wrong, but you can do it in a video game. It's fun. Just lob a grenade every once in a while and you can compete, have a good time. I did take martial arts, but I'm not as good as Ryu from Street Fighter. So, I can be as good as Ryu. I could be Ryu in Street Fighter. So I think that it's just, video games are just an escapism. It's just a way to entertain yourself and have a good time. And I think people who call those things evil, they look at the extreme cases of people who plan crimes on certain titles or people who are addicted. to them. And yeah, we should handle those on a case by case basis. But this blanket video games are evil, I think it's absolutely ridiculous. All right, so we're going to move on to another story. Oh, Pixie Ray adds, those kind of people hate fun. LOL. They think there's a demon around every bush. Yes, it's true. And I'm a Christian. I fully believe in the gospel of Jesus Christ. But I do think there's something to be said about the sort of puritanical way we approach things, where everything that isn't approved by a church or the church, yeah, I think it's silly. Neozoic question: do you think Rupert Murdoch was I think he means sabotaging Disney by when he sold 20th Century Fox, especially the current state of Disney? I don't think he was intentionally sabotaging it. I think that I do think that he took advantage of it, let's say. I don't think if in my humble opinion, Murdoch is very shrewd, and I think that him I don't think he wanted to sabotage Disney necessarily, because then they can't buy more stuff from them. But I do think he has taken advantage of their decline. That's why you're seeing a lot more stuff popping up on Tubi. You're seeing more Tubi originals. You're seeing more stuff coming from Fox Core. There's actually a rumor that they want to start a Fox Core movie studio or buy one that's already active. I don't know if that's true or not. Like I said, that's just rumors that I'm reading from people who claim to be leakers. So take that with a grain of salt. All right. So I'm going to talk about one of the most cringe movie trailers I've ever seen in my life. And again, I'm not going to review the movie, but I'm going to talk about my reaction to this trailer. Hollywood's cringe, the American Society of Magical, it's a step above the N-word, bombs before release as it gets trashed on YouTube. So this is from Fandom Pulse. True to form, Hollywood is on track to deliver another bust, with the American Society of Magical scheduled for release on the 22nd of March, 2024. The movie's official trailer received a proper trashing from YouTube viewers, so much that the dislike count has been disabled as of writing this. The last count was 63,000 downvotes, with the current likes at a meager 4.8K. So a short synopsis of the movie: a fresh satirical comedy about a young man, Aaron, who is recruited into a secret society of magical black people who dedicate their lives to a cause of utmost importance, making white people's lives easier. The trailer can be summarized as: a black man joins a society of black people who are saving back black people by saving white men from his own inherent racism. So stunning and brave. So, I think that's kind of funny. I watched the trailer for this movie, full on cringe. It looked like something that a parody movie studio would make. So something like Asylum, like they do their mockbuster movies. That is, the people who made Sharknado. It looked like something they would make. That's how bad this trailer was. But I'm wondering is because the trailer was hilarious. Like I said, I haven't watched the movie yet, but the trailer was so funny. I actually am wondering if it's like one of those movies that's so bad it's good. So like Moonfall or Morbius. That's what it looks like to me. But as for the undertones, I don't care. It's, we get it. This is Hollywood's one-trick pony now. White person bad, insert POC is good, and they're usually, if you look at a lot of them, they're usually self-insert. So Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Mutant Mayhem, how they changed April O'Neil, turned out April O'Neil was almost a photograph of the lady assigned to design April O'Neil. She just self-inserted her own self into that movie. And I think that this is what this kind of movie is. I think that it's, like I said, it looks funny. Yes, it's obviously racist toward white people, duh. But to me, it looks so bad that I actually think it's not going to make a splash. That's my honest opinion about this movie. I do think it is really funny. And as Neozoic said, I heard the trailer got a huge dislike ratio. That's what this article says. Oh, and he also apologies for the bad grammar. But yeah, I think it's kind of funny that this is happening, that this movie is being made. Oh my gosh. Even just because it has some actors in it who are good actors, but even they, it looks like they're just there for the paycheck. When you watch the trailer, it doesn't look sincere, but I think that's kind of funny. And Dwayne Asher says, hey, there's people on YouTube who think that, and they're called Little Light, and they're called Little Light. They get a video where they called Nintendo evil. Hope you do a video on that one day. Oh yes, I actually would love to do a video on that. I think that's great. I would love to talk to Christians who believe this way. I make no bones about the fact that I'm a Pentecostal. I'm kind of used to arguing with other Christians about beliefs. So, yeah, I would love to talk to people about the whole video games being evil thing. I would love to. And then Dwayne Asher adds to the conversation about the movie, and that movie won an award. Oh yeah, of course it did. Of course it did. It's going to get all kinds of accolades, all kinds of positive reviews. I absolutely think that 100%. All right, so we're down to the final topic of this surprise live stream, and that is that Eric July, the creator of Rippaverse, which has produced ISOM 1, ISOM 2, and AlphaCore 1, has announced that the lawsuit he had with some random school of ministry that happened to have the acronym ISOM, that the lawsuit has settled. That was his word. He thanked the ministry for coming to a term. What happened was this ministry got coaxed by certain people who will remain nameless. They got coaxed into suing him, claiming that ISOM violated their intellectual property, their copyright, trademark, whatever it was, even though theirs was an acronym and his was is the name of his superhero. So that's not how trademark and copyright work. You can't say this acronym is stealing from my character. That is not how it works. That's not how it has ever worked. It's only under very rare circumstances that is the case. And it was completely meritless. I called out the leader of that, and I'm not saying this to my own horn, but I did call out the leader of that school of ministry. I said, this is not how Christians behave. I said, shame on you. Because he absolutely should have been held accountable for that. And what's interesting is then there were people who were agreeing with the lawsuit. I mean, I won't say their names because I don't want to farm drama like a lot of channels, but it was very bizarre, the mental gymnastics they were doing. Even people who you would think would be on Eric July's side would. And there was a lot of Comicsgate people coming out, which they would, again, you would think they would support Eric July, who's just making comic books to entertain and whatnot. But I honestly think it was jealousy. They were calling the Rippaverse, they were calling it the Rip-Off verse. And quite frankly, I think it was just jealousy because his first 3 campaigns have been a smash success. Yeah, it was strange. Yes, I totally agree, Pixie Ray. It was absolutely strange, the amount of people who were coming out of the woodwork to attack Eric July for just making a comic book. 3 comic books, 3 successful campaigns. Full disclosure, I supported all of them because I believe in ISOM. I believe in the Rippaverse. I am a fan of it. And this is what annoys me about this sometimes is I just want to read comics. I'm so tired of this. And Pixie Ray says, I agree. A lot of people showed their true green color. Yes. And I called some of those people out personally. I don't work for the Rippaverse. I don't get a paycheck from them. I give them my money because I just want to read comics. Well, now that the lawsuit is settled, some of the naysayers are now trying to spin it that he lost. Okay, first of all, the lawsuit never went to court. So there is no loss. What are you talking about? They settled out of court. So he gets to keep ISOM as a superhero. He's going to continue to make ISOM comics. The Christian ministry school that sued him, they're backing off. What's the loss? I'm confused. Did he have to pay their attorney's fees or something? I don't think so. He hasn't disclosed that. Maybe he did, but I don't think so. I think that it was not, I think it's just people coping. They were wrong, and this lawsuit was settled, and good for Eric July for sticking to his guns and for producing comment. I am so tired of this drama. The whole point of us saying no to the big two comic book studios and all the sub ones that have gone woke is that we just want to read comics. We're tired of this infighting. We're tired of this drama. Oh, I'm Comic Skate. Oh, I'm War Campaign. I just want to read comics. I like creators from all these little breakoffs. Now, it does seem to have calmed down a little bit. Like Comics Gate and the War Campaign competition has kind of died down. They seem to have come back together. So good for them. I think there's still some stragglers, but I just think that this whole situation is dumb. I think that Eric July is doing the right thing because the woke people said, "Hey, stop complaining about how comic books are being represented and do something about it." And he said, "Okay," and he did something about it. I think that's great. That's what I did with my novels. Obviously, I'm not a comic book writer or artist. I would love to be one day, but what I always say, what inspired the Seven Royals, shameless plug for my novels, was that I went to buy some fantasy works and I was surprised by how many titles from popular publishers had gone woke. And I said, you know what? I'm gonna do something about it. So Seven Royals #3, the final part of the trilogy is on its way. I've got 2 other books in the work. One is finished, just needs to be edited. One I'm wrapping up now, and I'm still working on the Seven Royals 3. Don't worry, I won't charge George R.R. Martin it. It should be done by 2024. But anyway, and Pixie Ray says, LOL, did he stretch before that reach? Oh, you mean about the spinning it so they settled and then, but they still saying it's a loss? Yeah, basically. They stretched way so far that they hurt their shoulders and their back. Absolutely crazy and dumb. And I'm so glad that the Rippaverse, came together the way it did. All right. So before before I conclude this live stream, haha, Pixray, I just want to say one thing. Happy New Year. I probably won't see you next year, or until next year, I'm going to be doing a lot of pre-recorded videos. I might come back on the first week, but just to warn you, I am going to do a couple of I am going to do a couple of uploads because I'm planning a vacation. My wife and I are going to get away for a while. So especially during that week, there will not be new content. I'm going to release some of my old StudioJake Faith stuff, RIP. I'm going to just release them on my main channel, and I'm going to do some pre-recorded stuff. So you might not see my beard, my fantastic beard in some of them. All right. Last question. Also, what are your thoughts on original Gundam creator Yoshiyuki Tamano slammed Disney and concern about the future of anime? I actually am not aware of his comments. I'll have to look that up. I'm surprised I'm not aware of them because I follow Gundam. I always say Gundam was my gateway drug into anime. So I'm a little surprised I haven't heard that. But he's right to slam it, and he should be concerned about the future of anime. For 2 reasons. One, the West's infiltration of it, and also the amount of shady dealings and how the workers are treated behind the scenes at places like Mappa. Those 2 things will hurt anime, and I really hope that it will make a comeback. But yeah, the West infiltration of anime, especially with them making deals with companies like especially with companies like Netflix, like we saw how they really made the dub of Komi Can't Communicate, which is one of my wife's favorite manga, but then they made the dub from Netflix just had all kinds of woke, politically correct nonsense. And then but the sub was fine. But then in season 2, they did it with both. They woke up both of them, the dub and the sub. Absolutely preposterous. Go woke, get broke, or go woke, go broke, whatever it is. So, all right. So I'm going to conclude by saying Happy New Year to everyone. And listen, I know 2023 was tough. It was tough for a lot of us. My wife and I were forced to move out of the place we were staying in, even though we never missed a payment on it. It was very tragic. It was very annoying. And we had to rush to find a new place for our pet, Todd. You've seen him on my Instagram a lot. And I just think that it's very, It's very sad how this year has turned out for a lot of people. But in the midst of all that chaos, there has been some good. And so I'm really hoping that 2023 ends up being a fantastic year for you, for my family as well. I want to thank all of you for helping me reach my goal of 1,000 this year. Once again, I know I did the thank you live stream, which a lot of people in the chat participated in. Thank you so much. And I really hope that this year is better for all of us, that 2024 is a light after the darkness of 2023 that we see. And so much change. And I'm not talking about political change, although that would be great too. I'm just talking about we go forward, we all work together in our communities, in our cities, in our state, and in our countries. And that includes anyone internationally who is watching. I really appreciate everyone who was in the chat. Thank you so much for joining me. And I just want to say, I hope everyone has a happy new year, that you go forward with love, that you stay humble, and that you have fun in the meantime. Work hard, play hard, and have fun. And I'll see you next time right here on Studio Jake.